All
Turn
they
it
have to
up.
do is look him up, right? That brings
Some good coffee.
At last.
The king's back and the throne's mine. The future's here and it's my time. Straight shot, going for the head with it. Take his head off and say that I did it. Good riddance. Say hi to the bad guy, I'm back in business. If you took what's mine, I'm back to get it. There's nothing you can do, I'm back with vengeance. Now turn me loose. Now turn me loose.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Excuse me. First of all, I have to apologize because I know the original topic was supposed to be about talking about being overweight. Is that a choice? So we took a vote. We're going to have that conversation because I had two special guests who's going to be on. Okay, one from the 9-Day Fiance. So that was pretty much going to be a surprise. So a cast member from the 9-Day Fiance was going to be on today, but due to scheduling, so we're going to plan that for next week. So she would be on for next week Tuesday, and we took a vote, so we're going to make it a little hour early. Also, another special guest had a business meeting for today, so that individual is going to be on for also next Tuesday. It was like an old fitness mentor of mine, and we'll do the introductions for next week Tuesday. So for next week Tuesday, usually we have it Tuesday 8 p.m. Central Time for like 2 hours because we don't do a long stroke unless we like having fun with it. So it's going to be an hour earlier for the two guests to be on, for the full 2 hours. And of course, we can have, a full conversation for Wes. So we want to tuck Wes in early like he always does. Okay. So that's going to be the conversation for next week Tuesday. So we took a vote on it. We're going to move it for next week Tuesday, an hour early. So appreciate everybody for coming on through. 12th, appreciate you. The Raging Tomato, thank you. She says, hey, wanted to pop in. Can't say, but I think that's our copy and paste go-to. I appreciate you, Raging, like always. Danteezy, appreciate you. Mary Bell, thank you. Grace 4, appreciate you. Hey, Grace, you already know you're more than welcome to have a home here, okay? You always have a home here at the Grey Pill Podcast in the chat. All right. Wally, appreciate you, good sir. Appreciate you. Everybody say hello to Grace. She had some problems in another platform, so she's home here. She's family here. Just as long as you stick with the rules. All right, so the conversation we're going to have today is pretty much about, actually two. We're going to have a conversation about a YouTuber, famous YouTuber that was friends, not friends, and then another one where Ruby haven't seen, so that'll be your first one she'll be reacting to, and we'll all have the conversation. So let me go ahead and get a cool little introduction I got for everybody to come up on here. So here we go. Yeah, I like that.
Nice.
Hey, Heart, if you have do you have the minute? If you want to come up, you're more than welcome to come up and join for the conversation. We're gonna do a special one for next Tuesday. So today is one about no friends, and another conversation. We're gonna have a silly conversation about race, which we was discussing it earlier. So, Hart, if you have time, you're more than welcome to come up. Let me know, and I will drop you the link. Okay. So, what's your thoughts about having friends in the YouTube worlds and versus real world? We'll go with you, Wes. What's your thoughts?
Honestly, I think it's really cool to make friends in the YouTuber world. I think you can make real friends, like doing what we do, actually going on panels and having conversations with people. But over the past 20 years, this is why I keep saying that I think this is a great thing, is people are seeing conversations again. But for the past 20 years, people have not seen conversations. They just have these very quick, arguments over like Facebook or social media, and they don't actually gain anything. So you have all these people with friends on Facebook that they've never actually met. That's not real friends. Or people getting on Instagram, or especially this affects women a lot, where they're on Instagram, they're getting all these likes, and they're like, oh, I have all these fans, but they still feel empty. Well, because none of those are real connections. None of those people actually like you. They just like pictures you post. So what makes YouTube different is the fact that we can actually interact with each other, have real conversations, and create, a bond, and overlook things like being Canadian,
You always got to take a shot at the Canadian.
Darn right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
But luckily for me, I have real friends in real life who are also Canadian, and therefore know that, Americans be hating sometimes. It's cool. We all right. You know what I mean? But listen, I think the thing is, right, like really and truly, I have made the mistake of taking my online friendships too seriously. And I'll say it's the best way I can say it. I'm a very loyal, dedicated, devoted type of person, which means like the word, I don't use the friend the friend word too loosely and whatever. So if I say like, oh, yeah, I'm going to support you, or I'm a friend, or whatever, or we're in business together, whatever it is, right? I like devote myself to the bitter end. But the thing is I am 100% honest, open, I really mean the things that I say and whatever. And there's a lot of people who don't, and a lot of people who are just not about that life. And so the problem is, if you're going to be friends, you're not sitting there questioning your friends, right? Like you take them at their word and da da da. And that has bit me in the butt more than once. And so, once bitten, twice shy. Well, I say like, I will say that I got love for the people that I say I got love for, but the way that I used to when I first got into these spaces, like trust and just share my entire life with, and yeah, you could just know everything about me and I'll know everything about you, and I will sacrifice things to be there for you and stuff like I used to do. Like, no, I wouldn't do that anymore. Maybe I would still be willing to be screwed like that, like screwed over like that, just in case, and like risk it. But I have real friends, like in real life, that I have a hard time managing because I'm super antisocial at best. So, maybe I would have more YouTube friends, or I would attach more significance to them still, but it really did a number on me. Like, I mean, for people who know, if you were there, how badly I was treated and how badly it screwed me over, and like how badly that affected me for a long time. It's a lot of tears. So yeah.
Good evening, Alicia. The link is only for Heart of Inspirations for the join up for the conversation. I don't know. I'm agreeing with Wes, because I know Wes said this a lot. Like, it's an open door for more communication, because pretty much everybody was like outside a lot, and COVID and all this other stuff, and me just start hitting up a little bit crazier. I'm fine with building the friendships, but I think people need to understand their intent when they're coming on social media, especially YouTube with platforms. I've seen a lot of platforms where just here's going on, Alicia. I've seen a lot of platforms with just people just casual chatters, Other people that say, hey, you know what? I use YouTube as a business platform, which is fine. And then through the business, you kind of build friendships that way. So I think always standing the tent of what is your intent with your platform? What's your intent if you are a chat person, if you're a panelist person? Because I feel like everybody got like different hats when they come into the YouTube live streams and whatever. You got people like, cloud watchers, you got the occasional trolls, you got your panelists, you got your chat people. So you have those type of people. What I've seen lately, I've seen people take things a little bit too personal with their life, like they'll say, hey, what's going on, Hank? I appreciate you. I've seen people step up and say, hey, you know what? I'll use Hank for example, right? Me and Hank is not friends, but me is always been number one respectful, polite to each other. We have been on panel with each other for like certain topics, and that's pretty much how we keep it, right? But at the same time, we don't never. It's like boundaries. We have our own personal boundaries with each other, and how, because I know some people don't like when I say this, like the vetting, right? Because I'm gonna vet Hank gonna vet me, but the fact I don't think we need to vet each other that much because of our personal boundaries. I'm a content creator. He just started becoming a content creator. We've been on panels from different platforms, respectful platforms, some disrespectful platforms, but me and him personally never been disrespectful. So over time, now the vetting part might kick in. Over time, if I see him consistently, depending on topics of conversations or how he carry himself, like, okay, this could be somebody I see in reflection of people in my outside life. You know what I'm saying? Now, it just takes time from there, but we're always going to have those same boundaries moving forward. And that's pretty much how I think people should do. But unfortunately, people take one interaction, one good moment and be like, oh, that's my brother. That's my best friend. This is my sister. This is my go queen. This is everything. And I'm like, because over one conversation that we agree on, so that just makes us friends, that doesn't make us friends. Okay, so I think people need to understand the difference of that so they can move forward. Hey, lady.
Hey, how are you?
What's going on? Hey, I went to go check out Armand. My man is blowing up.
He is
blowing up. He got I came in there, I think like earlier today, he had like 2.7, and then less than 20 minutes, he had like 3,000 people in his chat. That is ridiculous.
He's really blowing up. It's well, it's this time of year. I think all of us are going to see anybody that's being real and anybody that's speaking truth, or at least speaking from their heart and not what society wants them to say. I think that
Authentic.
we're
I
all
think
going
that
to find that.
Yeah, I think that helps out a lot too. That's pretty much why I've been a fan of Albert Preach, because they've been so authentic to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I like them. All
right, so what's your thoughts on friendships and media, YouTube? If you had any good, bad experiences, like what's your thoughts on just like having friends overall in YouTube?
I've had both. I've had some people that I was very, very, very close to when I first started out. I called them sisters, and then at some point the YouTube thing got weird, and then we fell out over YouTube stuff. And I have some friends that are content creators that I love dearly. And to this day, like Armand's actually one of them. I've met him in real life. There's a few content creators I've met in real life, Secret Tarot, like we're very good friends, things like that. I think that there is a way to have good acquaintanceships. I think that we use the word friend just too loosely, like we use the word love.
I agree.
Too loosely. So it takes a long time for me to call somebody my friend, no matter where it is, in real life or on YouTube. I would say, though, as a content creator, you've got to be very, very careful who you align yourself with.
Yeah.
You really, because you could end up in a group that you have no idea the history behind why this person might be, what their history is, why they might be shunned, what's going on, and then all of a sudden that's where you're at. You're stuck with that.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example right here too. Just one of the ignorant perfect examples. I appreciate that, Hank. Either subscribe to me, we're best friends, or you super chat me, we're best friends. You click a like button. Hey, even if you're a mod, I had a bad experience with with the mod one time where a mod and a chat person had a disagreement, but it was about the conversation, so I was fine with it. Nobody was
Sure.
disrespecting each other. Nobody's calling each other out their names. They were just going back and forth about the conversation. So the mod just like out of nowhere just timed the person out of bandit. And I saw it and I flipped out instantly. Like, don't you do that? Freedom of speech, blah, 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 blah. And then I immediately apologized to the chat person. I'm like, yo, that the mod is a stench of me. This is something we don't do. And I knew the person pretty closely because we support another content creator. And I was like, I know I'll see him some around the corner, another space. And when I saw him, I didn't argue with them. I didn't, chastise him. Like, hey, you know what you did, right? Yeah, I won't do it again. It's like, all right, don't let that happen again. Don't let it happen again.
The whole
So,
mod thing is different. That's
but he's my friend. He's my friend. What do you mean?
in real life.
No.
Oh, okay. So once again, I'm gonna hold to my first statement. The mod thing is totally different. As so I love moderators and I love my mods, right? But over the years, and I've been doing this since like 2017, 2018. Sometimes I take it seriously, sometimes I don't, but whatever. But over the years, I have had moderators that could have completely killed my entire channel. I have had moderators and I have had friends who have had moderators that really thought that somehow this was their channel and that whatever they decided was best for the channel was what was going to happen. Like, you got to be careful. And then don't get big and then piss the moderator off. Then here they go doing the moderator tour, talking whatever dirt they think they have on. Sometimes I don't even want moderators. Sometimes I just don't want it because it's just too much stuff.
It depends. You don't, because I've seen a lot of content creators like at 1,000. Technically, you don't need it because you have your night bot or somebody else
Right.
to take it from you. And I use example like Ruby. Because I know there's usually be a husband and wife dynamic. Like the husband might be the content creator, and the wife are like, you know what, I'll just be here and I'll be that mod. Because they're both together time. Or you might have the casual, like the roommate friend, whatever little weird dynamic you got. But realistically, you really don't need a mod unless you take the practice. If you got, like right now, it's 13 people in the chat. I respect them all. I know a good bulk of them, like yourself. Like, hey, you're a mod. I know you do handle your business well. I know you're kind of, turn sides on it. But if it comes to that level, just say, you know what, I don't want the blue wrench no more. It's not a problem. Grace 4. She's a regular chat person. I've seen her in other spaces. I've seen how she carries herself. Like, okay, I'll give you the wrench. She freaked out, like, oh my God, what does that mean? I was like, trust me, you're good. I have a super wrench person. Nobody don't know who it is. If that person blocks and bans you, it's a reason. I'm never going to argue with them. Never going to argue with them.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Shout out to Inky. Inky said they can still make real friends. They could.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not discounting that at all. I'm just saying no matter what, you got to be careful. I don't care if it's YouTube or TikTok or, you got to be careful who you're aligning with.
Pre-screen and on board.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I only have one mod, and to be honest with you, unless something radical changes, like I suddenly get like a 10,000 live viewers, I doubt I would see. Okay, so it's me, and so I actually live stream with another person, right? And so like we're sharing the channel 50-50. So we obviously both have moderator power, right? And then I have one moderator. And because the way that I see it, it's not like because you're my friend or because I like you, or no, I give you a wrench to do a job. And the person who's modding my channel currently is the best moderator like I've ever met. Like, she's actually really dedicated. She will share the link outside. Like, she goes above and beyond to the point where she's built some big names that like ended up taking off, she was their moderator and she was their builder. So, and you know, I was co-hosting with her on the radio and on her channel for a long time. So she's my mod and that's it. And everyone else is not a mod. And so I figured that's the easiest way to do it, because I think what ends up happening is when you start giving, well, content creators get a mod and then blah blah blah. But well, we're really we're in a lot of discussions together, so I'll give you a mod. And then, oh well, come on. I mean, this person has a huge name. I'll give you a mod. And you start to see soon everyone has a ranch. And then new people, the people you're trying to build to come in and just like, you know, appreciate and support your channel, they come in, they see a wall of blue and they go, I'm not commenting in here, because they're afraid that they're going to get shut down right away. They're afraid they're going to get banned and whatever. And it's really intimidating to newbies, right? So everyone has this wrench. You don't have one. You know, you could get shut down so easily and blah, blah, blah. So I do it the opposite way. And I'm like, there's one mod and that's it. And everyone else who comments, feel free. You can speak very openly inside of my chat. You're not going to get banned or anything, right? And then that way it kind of just makes everything more egalitarian without having to hand out a wrench to make everyone feel like it's more equal or like I respect them or I like them or whatever. It starts getting too messy for me. So
Yeah, I'm different. If I'm given the blue, I'm in mod mode job. Like I didn't know I had one for you, Hart, and I was like, oh, I'll stay. I'm in mod mode right there instantly, and I'll just do my job, do better podcasts. I'm a mod for his. He want his mods to do their job. I was like, that's what you need to do. Marcus was my first. A few others was first. So between him and Wally, pretty much every time they come in, and they pretty much just build. Again, it's like a community extension of you. So you know they do it here now. Like everybody greet each other, be polite with each other. Now I got my little casual trolls because Wes pretty much is like his own little weird little troll on the panel, but it's pretty much that same little energy. Yeah, pretty much that same little energy on the chat too. Because if we got silly platform days, they'll do the little trolley bits, and then some so good, clever, they'll catch me off guard because I try not to read it. I tried to read the trolley one, so one might get me. And I was like, you know what, you got me. It's good. Let's keep it going. So
yeah. To be honest with you, I modded you the other day because none of my mods were around. This is my fault, guys, for not being around on like actually streaming for a while I was like kind of living life, marrying off my son and whatnot. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, life is just lifing. But so there was no mods in there, and I'm like, I can trust. You were the only. No offense to anybody else that was in that chat, but at that moment, I'm like, I can trust Grey Pill. Like, if something gets weird, because sometimes, depending upon the conversation, I needed mods right away because I started out reading tarot exclusively, and what would end up happening would be one of two things. One, I would get some people that were very evangelical and felt the need to come in and say something very rude and horrible to me, not even knowing my background that I'm an ordained minister, whatever. So there was like just horrendous things. Or I would get actually a lot of Caucasian folks that would come in dropping N-bombs, wishing death on me. Like it shook me to my core and I thought I had thin, tough skin, but when it first started happening, it really shook me. And I almost got off YouTube. And then, I had some friends on YouTube already, and they were like, girl, will you please give me a wrench? I didn't even know what it was. What do I do? What do you mean?
Hey, I'm more than welcome to I don't know if we have because I think we have each other email. I'll email you.
Yeah.
Just let me know what time you go on. Every time I work, I'm pretty much just watching everybody at that time. So or just editing or what stuff I do at work. So I'm free. So let me know whenever you get on. I'll definitely make sure the times to be on to mod. I have no problem doing that. And if I see more than one mod, then I'll just slowly back out, let them do their job.
Totally fine. Or if it's chill, and late now it's different. I have a more established, audience, and the conversations that I'm having, they're attracting a different group of people. And I got very good at blocking certain
Exactly.
words.
That's the key word. That's how you filter out the people. And
Yeah.
speaking of clear people, right on time, New York. So we have two little side topics. So since we're talking about the friends, so we'll get to that one and we'll react to it. Then we'll get to the other one. So if anybody's a fan of Amber Priest, definitely check him out. I know I am. So let's share this real quick and get to the conversation.
All righty then.
Oh, sorry, it's just my ugly face. I apologize to everybody. I apologize. I know.
Are you just living because you got a friend or two? It's like, I don't think maybe this. I don't know. I came to this realization, and someone said that's really sad. I don't think it's sad. I think we live for other people. The things that make life worth living are others.
Okay,
Play some code games?
we're not gonna do that.
Come on,
We're not doing
Play
that.
some code games.
I'm not playing with you. I'm good.
No, hey,
I'm good.
don't be like that.
No, you got to respect people's boundaries, and that's what I put the boundary. That's a no.
Yeah, but you have to learn to compromise.
No, I don't have to. Not for that.
So disclaimer, I might get a little emotional. I might not. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But when I was growing up, man, I was a loser. First things first. First things first, guys. Serious video today. I was a loser. I was overweight, which doesn't just make you a loser, but in my school it did. And you know, I was that kid that sat at the table with 3 other people that were also like the super rejects. That was me. And there's nothing wrong with that. That actually is a good thing for me because I met my friends. That's where I met my friends. My lifetime friends is where I met at that table. It was like 4 or 5 people and it expanded and, you know, got slimmer over time. But it was those people. And we did everything together. All my whole life. Like from kindergarten up, we did everything together. And that was really cool. That was a really awesome thing that happened in my life. But something happened a little bit later. When I got to my late 20s, and a lot of you can probably attest to this in the comments, let me know, but when I got to my late 20s, those friends disappeared. And it's not because they were like, I hate you, Cody. It's nothing like that. It's, you know, life happens. You know, people get married, they move across the country, they were just gone. So, you know the story about me anyway. I mean, if you follow my channel, I got married. I still hung out with my friends, but, you know, I got married. And she became my best friend. And in 2016, she didn't want to be my friend anymore. So we were together about 8 years, and then she left. So I was totally alone. And my friends were pretty much gone. This was at the point where they were disappearing and moving away and stuff like that. And over the last couple of years, I've came to accept it. I thought to myself, hey, you know, like when you get to this age, you just don't have friends anymore. And it's kind of a hard realization to come to, but it just seemed normal. Everybody my age seems the same. And that just seems how it is nowadays. And is it entirely that bad to have no friends? No. I mean, it gives you time to focus on yourself, but would you need that support?
Yeah, it is.
Your thoughts, Wes?
Well, you know, when you're loser is just a perception. It's a perception that you provide to yourself. It's something that you accept from other people. But he had friends. He admitted that he had good friends. And at a certain point in life, it actually does. The more you go through life, it becomes harder to develop new friends. When you're young, it's very easy because you're all just brand new in this life, learning new things. But over time, you learn lessons. You learn things to be afraid of. You fall into your own habits. And our habits as adults a lot of times can be less social than our habits as children, because as children, that's what we're doing. We're being social. But also, what things has made it harder in this, harder as adults, harder in this modern life to develop new friends, is that everything has gone online so much that you're meeting less people. It's actually less it's less what do you call it? It's almost looked down upon to, meet people out socially. So people have become less social. He spent a lot of time just kind of accepting this down the road that he doesn't have friends, he doesn't know what to do about it. Well, he can do things about it, because those people that he was friends with in the past, he can still call them up and say, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Because I talk to people that I was with friends with, in high school over 20 years ago. It's not like I talk to them every day, but I can still call that person a friend and talk to them on occasion. And getting, when you change jobs, you do something different, you're around different people, you will socialize with them, you can make new friends that way. You just forge socially and actually ask them things that have nothing to do with work, like how you doing, how was your holiday. But those are things that we learn to not do as we're kind of getting into the professional world and trying to be adults.
I agree. I think, me personally, I think he went through phases. The fact that he admitted that he had friends, maybe either he didn't want to keep up with them or they didn't want to keep up with him. I don't know the particulars. The part that hit me is when he said, "Hey, my wife for 8 years didn't want to be my best friend no more." And I'm like, okay, okay. That's a whole ball of wax to play around with. But I hope that wasn't the key catalyst of him not having friends anymore because of that relationship ended. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else?
Well, how I saw it is this, that basically, and people do this sometimes. And so I'm going to make two statements first before I expand.
Mm-hmm.
The first is that marriage requires work. And when they say the hard work of marriage, they're not talking about, you having to do the dishes, take the garbage or whatever, right? They're talking about literally the hard work of maintaining this interpersonal relationship between two people. Friendships also actually require work. Adult friendships do. And so the problem often is that younger people, will find people to fall in love with, and then they drop their friends, right? And this is like a common thing. And unfortunately, some people kind of don't grow out of it. This idea where you could just drop your friends, put them on the side burner while you're living your life over here with this person you love and building your life over here. And they'll always be available for you to pick up when you feel like it. And the older you are, the less that's true. And when you are in love and your marriage is working and whatever and everything's fine, well, you don't really care so much that your friends are no longer, literally bugging you for attention. Like, hey, are you okay? Hey, do you want to come to my kids' thing? Hey, do you want to come to my barbecue? Hey, do you want, and you're used to them always making the effort. And so you don't realize that friendships require effort on both sides in order for friendships to be maintained. And then you lost the marriage. And that was the point where you went, oh, damn, it would have been nice to have friends. But your friends weren't really willing for you to just try to pick them up again now, that you need them. Because people get tired of being treated that way, like they're dispensable. And so he's learned the difficult but valuable lesson that interpersonal relationships require work and maintenance constantly. Like, this is not like a thing. And this is coming from somebody, by the way, who's incredibly antisocial, and who has a really hard time with like really menial aspects of socialization. I really have a hard time. So I have to establish new types of cliche behavior to interact with my friends and family with, so that way they still get that fulfillment they need, right? And we still are able to build and continue to maintain our relationships in ways that we both need. Because people tend to need that. They need to know, they need that validation. They don't need you just around when, or reaching out for them when something's bad. They want to know that you just care on a day-to-day basis, that when something's good, you're going to think of them and include them, or whatever it is, right? And if you're not willing to make that effort, then yeah, of course you lost your friends. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not really super surprised you lost your marriage either, because sometimes we just don't know that interpersonal relationships require work. And if you don't put the work in, that is the hard work of marriage, you're going to lose your marriage. And it's not because you're a bad person or she's a bad person or, whoever. It's because you didn't do the hard work, and you thought the marriage should maintain itself. And you thought that, well, if you were meant to be, it would just work perfectly all by itself, not recognizing if you don't put the work in, it doesn't matter how great the marriage is or was, it's going to die. So I think that that's really what I heard or what I took from his story thus far.
Okay.
Wow, that's deep. I agree with both of you. I find it interesting, though, he made this commentary on the heels of that. I'm assuming that he made the commentary on the heels of the Ab and Preach thing, because that was a point where one was not respecting the other one's boundaries, because they got a little bit, like they yes, there's a friendship there, but they sometimes in deep friendships, relationships, strong ones, we can lose the respect because we just feel like we could do whatever, right? That's kind of normal. So I found it interesting that he piggybacked on that. I do think, though, that we can infer that he dropped everybody else and everything else for the marriage. I have been privy to, and I'm sure probably a lot of us have been privy to, a lot of that teaching that used to be, and I guess it's still prevalent in some areas today, that you should drop everybody else, that your husband and your wife, your spouse, should become your best friend. And, it's in the vows, forsaking all others, and yada, yada, yada. Not recognizing, though, that that's not good for you. I've always felt that for a relationship to flourish, you both met each other when you had these friends and you had these relationships, you had these lives. And this is the person that you fell in love with, right? And you decided you wanted to share your life with. But then if you're no longer with those friends, as long as those friends aren't bad influences, right? And they're not trying to tear you apart, you lose a significant part of who you are. Because you lose that outlet, you lose that other, right? You lose all of that. And I think that's, sometimes we can be very insecure, and then we one person brings the other party in. It's like, you can't go out. Oh my God. Like they freak out. Like, dude, what do you think was happening beforehand? He was going out with his guys. You were going out with your girls. You should be able to trust your partner. And if you can't trust them when they're out and not with you, there's a lot deeper problems than the fact of who they're hanging out with, right? So yeah. I think that that is what this young man, unfortunately, is saying, is that he forsook all others. And then now the person he thought was going to be his best friend, that the world rose and the sun rose and set in, is not around no more.
I agree.
Bad.
Inky says, shout out to Inky. Inky said, I don't know about you two friends unless you know each other in real life. Just saying, that's fair. Again, boundaries. Was another one. Celine had a lot to say. Celine says, I might not have a ton of friends as far as my circle goes, but I have a few quality people I can reach out in the real life that will take care of me and are deep friendships. Mm-hmm. I agree. Mm-hmm. Pretty much Tria Logic expressed that too. She was like, yo, even down with families, like she was like, sometimes families might be the worst, but you'll find actually really good friends equal out to the fact of family. She says, I keep friends all the way back from middle school. That's pretty cool. Poppy Blanco actually had that same kind of friendships too. All his friends is from he knew back growing up until now. She also says real friendships had a hard to find, but when you truly find one, you know it. They shape in you, but also aren't afraid to call you out. Yeah, those are friends I want. Those are friends I want. And I have those. I have definitely a refuge, a small little bucket of them. I like it. Hold on, lady, I get to you. Celine said the whole insecurity of your partner going somewhere is kind of crazy. I agree with that 100%. You should know their character to know that they won't cheat on you if you're not there. Exactly. Because the moment you say, hey, let me see your phone, red flag.
Right? I'm out.
Yeah, red flag. ain't no, we can't discuss no more. Like, what's going on? Lady says, GP, I spoke to you, bro. I don't know what that means. But again, the conversation is about friends. So just because you hit the subscribe button because you're mine, that doesn't make us friends. We're cool. We're great associates, like Heart of Inspiration said. More importantly, I come in always with respect. Always polite. You ain't gonna never catch me, especially on, because again, this is how I look at it like this. The fact that I don't know you on the virtual realm, I'm gonna give you as even much respect, just common courtesy and respect. That's it. Now imagine, because it's some things that we all have seen, like the negative, the fool-la-la, the toxicity, and just in media. Period. I will literally ask people like, "Hey, if this person did this to you in real life, in your neighborhood, in your backyard, in your front streets, would you still be their friend?" And they instantly say no. And I said, okay, so why don't you keep that same energy on a virtual realm? Crickets. I doxed Ruby today, but we're best friends 2 weeks ago. I talk about Wes's family 2 weeks ago. We're friends again. I'm like, nah, that can't be me. If I say I don't F with you, I'm not F with you. I'm not calling you. I'm not being on the same platform you. There's no excuse for me to be anywhere any near you. No excuse. So if I do hop on that situation, then I have the issue. It's not even no more you no more. That disrespect to hurt me. It's a me problem now. So that's where I see it. The topic is
what do you think about this?
Sure.
When any or all of us get to the point where we are able to like have, you know, some name, not a celebrity name or a high profile, I don't need whatever your gig is, right? Maybe it's a lawyer, maybe it's whoever, and you have them on your platform, and you interview them and everything like that, and you develop some kind of a rapport with them. Do you feel that we should be friends with those people, or do you feel that it may compromise your ability to be objective if they do some tomfoolery later on?
No. Well, I'm gonna say yeah, no. Like I'm thinking of two. Interviewed a prostitute. She was more transparent and I can actually care to ask anything. So I appreciate her. But anything that was more for my morals compared to hers, I was literally like speaking on that. And I was speaking on from the outside viewer in. So I never like let me, gloves off or gloves on, do the soft punching. I never did that. And we're still, socially cool to this point. We don't really keep in touch like, hey, let's be friends. It's just like, hey, there may be another topic, or do you want to still reach out for another part 2 conversation? That's how it goes. Again, back to the boundaries why I speak about me and Hank. A second person I'm thinking of, Rike. He's a famous expat YouTuber. I followed him ever since he was like 1K subscribers. I remember him when he interviewed the Filipino P when she had like 200 subscribers. Wow. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't know all these things that goes on behind the scenes, and people know. Ruben's another perfect example, like all the people she knew in the quote unquote manosphere spaces in the early days, right? So long as you keep your boundaries and you know what your morals are for what you need to say. Heck, half the time I don't really, me and Ruby pretty much agree to almost a good amount of things, but when it comes to like morals and some obligations, me and Ruby pretty much check each other, for the most part. But when it comes to like business, we'll literally just talk about business. That's what it is. All right, go to your husband. I go to my little dark, cold room in a single cage.
Don't say that.
I know, but
don't say
that. So I'll go there and I'll watch my TV and click. But no, for the most part, no. It just, if you say who you are, as far as like, again, what's your initiative, just you gotta stay on it. You gotta stay on it. I think from coming up,
okay, if you interviewed Tia, let's say you interviewed the lead attorney. Let's say you interviewed lead attorney, and y'all outside of the interview got to be good friends. And this could be anybody. I'm really interested to hear how people view this.
Okay.
What if all of a sudden, lead attorney one day, there's a huge, you had a great interview. It been wonderful. Y'all talking outside too. And all of a sudden some scandal with pictures, like we have proof that the lead done something really bad. do you feel that you could be able to be objective enough to talk about that subject? Or do you think that you'd be compromised, that you'd have to be like, dude, I mean, I just saw all this stuff. It's all with TMZ and everything else with the smooth cat. And I don't know what we're gonna do here. I don't know if I can talk about it. That's what I'm wondering.
So if I could answer, well, I'll give you
Yeah.
my opinion because I think it depends on the person, right? Because some people will 100%, they know they'll be compromised. So, for example, there's a huge YouTuber right now, Nick is not green, and he is under fire, foot on neck, like literally has
Yep.
lost his entire reputation because he's exactly the kind of YouTuber who cannot remain objective, period. He just can't. And like to the point where he will compromise what he says are his morals and his integrity and whatever, because one of his big name YouTubers or whatever get themselves in hot water, he's going to be on their side and he will lie for them, he will die, he will do anything.
Oh,
um
okay.
and so like he's not the kind of person who should make friends with really anybody, since he's a commentary YouTuber and his whole job is to supposedly make, objective, unbiased commentary.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
then you have people like Lovely T, right? Huge YouTuber as well. And she has been in the game, not just in YouTube, but like, she's a model and stuff. So she's been in the industry game for a
I've met
long time.
her a few times. She's a wonderful lady.
Really,
Wonderful.
God, I love her. But so she actually, I would say she's the example of
Mhm.
you can absolutely make friends with people you get along with, you agree with within the industry, right? And still keep her professional and unbiased. So like she'll analyze a story and like, because she's like cool with Cardi B, for example. And if she thinks
Mhm.
Cardi B is wrong, she'll just call her out. Cardi B's wrong. That's
Mhm.
what it is.
Mhm.
And she feels no way. And the people that she's made friendships with, like if they're going to hate her for being honest and being objective about a
We're not
story and a
friends.
take, then I guess we're not going to be friends anymore. But she has decided she's not going to, compromise her integrity and her morality for anybody. And, she had a whole falling out with Tasha K over, a similar question. And they're different people. Lovely T is a very moral, honest person. She's not dogpiling on because, ooh, it's going to get her the most clicks or likes or views. Or she's not going to shut her mouth because, oh, it'll get you friendships over here. She's just going to be honest. She's going to tell it like it is. And then she'll say, yeah, it don't make me like the girl less, but she was wrong for this and it is what it is. And, move on. So if you're the kind of person who can just keep it 100 and like, I'm going to be honest, right? If you think you're really close to this person, you should probably reach out and give them the heads up like, hey, I'm going to cover your story. This is my opinion on your story. That might get a little awkward, but this is what it is. Is there anything you would like to say that you want me to add in there or whatever? But I'm telling you, this is what my coverage is. You should give that respect to people you care about. Poor Man's Podcast did that with Fresh and Fit. He said, hey, listen, I think y'all are wrong. And I'm going to report in the story though, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to report it like you're wrong. You know what I mean? So you can.
And we've done that here. Yeah, we've done that here. What's her name? I don't know if you heard of Priscilla Clark, whatever, the Queenmaker.
Yeah.
We've done that here. I gave her a month heads up, like, hey, I will. She had an interview with somebody. I didn't want to take her content and just break it down. She had 2 interviews. She had an interview with another young lady, and I was like, ooh, okay, this is good stuff. I knew of her a long time ago. Didn't really even want to touch it, and then she pops back up in the manosphere, and I was like, okay, she was just very active on everybody's platform, small, big, little, whatever. And I said, okay. I seen her do the interview with one young lady. I emailed her a month ago. I said, hey, this is the story. Here's the thumbnail. Gave so much a heads up. And then a month later, hey, here it goes again. We're about to do this thing. And I was like, well, maybe she didn't see it. I don't know. And I even reconfirmed, it's like, look, it's happening this day. I see she live the same time we go live. And just knowing her history of her pattern, I knew she was going to do a response to it, but I didn't know she was going to do that soon. And she did like instantly the next day. And I was like, Lord, she talked about this platform like a dog. She took, which I'm fine with, you reacting to her. Yeah, she was on Ruby, but she took 10 minutes of the conversation and made it a 2-hour stretch. And I was like,
wow, sis.
She made a song about me and she did a whole separate stream just about me. So we're all clear. Yeah, she really didn't like me.
Oh, I would have took that content and ran with it, honey. Oh, thank you very
I'm
much.
waiting for
Because you
someone
were
to give me the clip
because
of
you
the
were not drinking the
song.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's what it
You were
was.
not drinking the Kool-Aid, so she doesn't know what to do with you. But everybody else, like the way she talks, the points that she makes, she's playing on people's what do you call it? Insecurities.
Mhm.
She plays so deeply on people's
She's playing on
stupidity.
people's stupidity.
Mainly women.
And you know,
Mainly,
it's their hurt. It's so what she's doing, she's taking a bunch of women who are like, you know, they've been hurt, they've been left before, they're single mothers, it's just one, you know, abuse, so on and so forth. And she's taking all those women who feel all of these really negative things and saying, hey, boo, don't worry, it's not your fault. It's
but
men are
she's also a
incapable of love.
predator.
You didn't choose the wrong type of man. Men are incapable of love. Right? I'm going to teach you why that's true. Men are just incapable of it. So really, it's everyone else's fault for lying to you that men are even capable of love.
Does she say all men or is it
Yes.
just some men?
No, all men.
Oh,
And,
all
and
men.
she
Okay.
clarifies, yeah,
I
of
was
all
gonna try to
races.
help a sister out, but okay.
Yeah, it
But
was so upsetting because she was on another platform, and again, people act like they don't like people know people or people been on platforms because I've been on
Mhm.
platform for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And one guy individually, his content's so different. He just stays like in a geek comic book lane, and he happened to jump on a panel, but because of her bold statement, and she was doubling, triple down on it, he simply asked her like, "Hey, I'm 23. I just got married to my newly wife. You know, what can I do for, you know, we plan to have children. So what would your be advice?" She danced around this whole thing. And then, of course, again, multiple platforms of people on there, and they wanted to get their little jabs in. And then he brought it right back. Okay, I didn't get my answer. And before he can say that, I answered your question. It's like, no. And he just like, you know what? I'm a bow out gracefully left. And he DM'd me like, look, this one's not even answering my question. I asked her, she says she's about, you know, this one thing. So if I'm telling like, hey, for me, for a newly husband with my newly wife, and the stuff she's saying doesn't adds up to like my mom, because my mom was a product of grape. But my dad didn't come to her and graped her. He came to her after the hurt, and he was doubling down on the type of man he is to prove to his love and his admiration to his wife. And he's like, because of that, I'm a product of my mom and dad. So I'm trying to understand where you getting this from. Now, because of that, now I'm newly married. I'm 23. I'm having a child. We're planning on having children. It may be a boy. So what do I do for that boy? Because according to you, all men can't love. All men can't do this. All men is pretty much in their DNA programmed to just lust after and just smash. That's where all men capable of. So if that's what it is, what can I do to help myself with my wife? And if I have a son, she couldn't answer the question. But to answer going back to the original conversation, she had a heads up, gave my opinion, like, look, we're going as a group, because I didn't want to be biased and just have me. Because again, anybody that knows me on this platform, I don't like Pearly, I don't like Rolo, I don't like those red pillar guru guys and PUA, whatever they all call themselves. I just don't like them all. So I'm pretty much stands on solo and have that conversation like everybody else. But when we have the group conversations, like I don't want to be like the nitpicky one. So let's have actual conversations about the stuff she's saying, because it's for me, it's the same coin and parallel to the talking points of Fresh and Fit, which is me. Everybody that knew Fresh and Fit for the years is very dangerous. The stuff they say, the demographic of the targets of the young demographic that they're reaching out to, the minds of the people that they're saying, because whatever stuff they say online is pretty much they're going to take and go out in the real world, which now is proven to be a fact. One young boy was a mass shooter or something and ended up getting himself killed. Pretty much stated, and it was in public record in the news, and he named Andrew Tate and Pearly Things. And then we have a young woman and plus some other women saying, hey, my quote unquote boyfriend is a red pillar, so now he said all this weird stuff and then just dumped me. And I was like, So these things that people say on media is a very, very affect a lot of things of people. And two, no disrespect to her, I don't know her personally, but you're not qualified to have those type of conversations, in my opinion. If you are trying to have these conversations, let it be known in the beginning. Look, I'm giving my perspective. I'm giving my thoughts. These are not blah, 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 blah. Have that little, disclaimer first, because even certain conversations, Ruby's qualified to have these conversations for the most part, right? I have a friend that I knew from high school. She's the actual therapist. Most of the conversations, especially the interviews, I go to her first. Like, hey, these are the conversations, these are the questions I ask. Is there anything feedback you give me on how to handle this conversation moving forward? Because I'm not qualified to have them. I can't sit there and tell my platform, go out and go smash everybody because this is how you get the women. Go out and do this because this I can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. So let me have the group conversation. We share all our intel, have the conversation, your input, Wes inputs, and we chop it up from there. But unfortunately, a lot of stuff that I've seen, a lot of people, their friends, they get in these arguments because they have disagreements and because of a one topic, either they're frenemies, enemies, and all this little weird stuff they do. And I'm like, not us. Like one day we're either poking the bear at Wes for a whole 2 hours, or one day we're all coming at Ruby for something. Somehow it comes after me for one day, and I'm like, all right, then we're coming right back on the panel at the same a different topic, different conversation. So,
well, I think that's when the grifters, fall apart. Sometimes becoming the frenemy is the greatest grift of them all, because then, right, you kind of you create the drama too as well. I feel like there's times where grifters will collide and one just doesn't work with the other. And sometimes I have known content creators to literally create drama, to YouTube facing drama, and behind the scenes they're raking in the super chats and all of that behind the scenes because of that whole thing.
Fair enough. All right, let's get back to the video. Sure, I got the right one.
Yeah, hold on. Can we talk to DJ Janitor for a second? Because I'm not understanding what is happening.
I don't know.
Grace Ford told you that she's married and respectfully would like you to speak to her like she's a married woman, and you're not trying to sexually or otherwise pursue her. And somehow or another, you couldn't respect that, so you kept going, and then you got timed out, and now you're coming back asking what her background is. It doesn't matter. How about that? She's married. She's not interested. Leave her alone. Talk to everyone else. Have conversations that's relevant to the topic that we're discussing on the panel, and leave Grace alone. Thank you. Okay.
With that, you are removed, sir. You are removed. See how easy that went?
And we just said it takes so much. He really had to be egregious on this. That's
he was fighting. See how that works out?
Yeah. Enough now. You know what I mean? You don't want our attention. Stop looking for it.
Maybe for some people, like very few of you thrive. For the other people, I think it's just a lot of cope, personally. And I'll say this also. You know what it makes me think of? You remember them? I don't need no man.
On December 1st, history's greatest hero.
The professor.
3, 2, 1.
Moments later.
I love him. It's like these women who I don't need no man. Then they get a man and they're like they realize
what they love.
Yeah. I'll say this. I thought I didn't need family. So I wasn't close to my family for a long period of my life. And now being closer to my mom and some of my family members now, it's like been life changing. Mm. You don't realize you need something until you really have it. And you like you and there are times of need and you have people to rely on. They're there for you for special moments. You share things. Like there's going to be a moment where you have a flash and you be like, oh, this is why people need community. This whole idea that we're excelling in solitary confinement and by ourselves is bullshit. Like I said, there might be exceptions to the rule. But the people who I see generally thrive in life are people who are surrounded by people that love them. Not folks who are by themselves. And I mean, almost every study I've ever seen says like, you're going to die earlier. You're going to feel less fulfillment and less happiness. You're much more likely to take your own life. Like, I want to say that because I see a lot of people saying this kind of stuff, and I don't want folks at my home watching and be like, yeah, be by yourself with no friends and nobody. It's amazing. I don't want you to feel bad about the circumstance where you don't have people around you. But I also don't want to lie to you and say those circumstances are good.
Yeah. but I just didn't have it. I'm now 31 years old, guys. I'm 31. I do almost everything myself. You know, I do my YouTube, the channel you watch. That's pretty much my entire life. Please subscribe. My entire life, guys. Oh my God. But I learned something. I learned something really recently that I didn't think I would get to experience. When I started YouTube, you know, it was for fun, obviously, and when it started taking off, that was pretty cool. But something came of it that I never thought would ever come of it. My viewers, and I know a lot of people are different, but my viewers would message me and talk to me, and I have people that have been in my community for a long time, and they've become, you know, real friends. But now, granted, that's the point of this whole video, is the fact that I didn't consider it that way. You know, they were the people from my YouTube community, you know, and the people in my actual life. You know, I don't have any friends in real life, so I talk to these people on Discord, I talk to these people on Instagram, I talk to these people on Twitter, and I talk to them regularly. You know, well, recently we had a meetup, guys. We went to Orlando with 16 people, maybe, all from my channel, and that's about probably the first day of this meetup with some truly fan-damtastic people. About a day into this meetup, maybe about a day into it, I learned something that inadvertently that I didn't think I would learn. And I learned that these people that chose to come to this get together with me
We can't go.
I learned that they were my real friends.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Sure like the ball.
Jesus.
Wow.
I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know, because we literally just had a talk behind the scenes about, like, I get it, like you have your cluster of friends, like I was talking about your gamer friends, your real life friends, your co-workers. You mentioned Discords, you know, stuff like that. I think it just depends on how much of I don't know. I want to say how much of friendships with which whatever bubble you consume, but I don't know. That was a lot. Wes.
So sounds like he was happy to meet his fans.
You said they're your friends.
But the thing is, sounds like he felt like he was. I guess he was feeling like he was at a loss there. If that was the closest thing he had to friends. So I don't know what, you know. I mean, is he crying because he's happy? Is he crying because he's kind of sad, or maybe a little bit of both?
Yeah, it sounded like a little bit of both, or more so, he happy that he found, in his mind, he found like genuine friends from whatever relationships he built on the discourse and the virtual side. Then when he came out, it's like, oh, they actually paired off to what I assumed or thought they was, and it now confirms to what they are in real life. So, but even still, that doesn't mean, to me, it doesn't mean anything, because man, you can kick it all day here, but then your actions can add up to something different outside in the real world. You know what I'm saying? And even then, that's a whole different interaction, because we're all in our homes, our little personal, private place where we at now. But when we get sound interact, I think I need more interaction with you. Same thing like a relationship with a chick. So if I'm taking her lunch, I mean, she might be her best day, and then next thing you know, somewhere else, best day, and the mask starts slowly falling off. Or that might just be the real person. You never know, but it takes time. So,
okay, hot take. I did back in the day, way back. I did online dating for a long time, and I never thought that I could actually create real relationships starting out, or really get to know someone starting out with an online relationship. And I did find out, I think for the most part, a good chunk of them, yeah, I did. And maybe that's why now I feel like I can get to know somebody this way, because I got so used to getting to know them in a virtual world. I think it's different. It's definitely different when we finally meet, when I finally meet someone IRL. Very different.
Yeah.
And it definitely it usually solidifies. Well, it solidifies it one way or the other. There have been people that I've met that I've been like, okay, this is not even close.
Yeah, but I don't think you're staying with them though. Like if you see red flags,
No.
people just need to know how to move accordingly. Because when you mentioned the online dating thing, one, we actually became real good friends. I think one had reached out years ago on the online dating. I asked him like, "Hey, what do you think about this site?" And I said, "Oh, everybody sluts and whores." That was my experience of it. I was like, "No, everybody's either smashing, or the guy's not taking it seriously, or the women like give this long profile." So I gave my whole little opinion of it, and we just became cool, like long distance friends, like genuine friends. When I had did the whole fitness thing going on, we met up one time. It was just pretty much a personal event, and that was it. Then we went our separate ways. The state that she was currently living at. My mom retired. I got aunts in the area, so we hung out again. Because again, back to like in public, and we just became cool from there. And we known each other for like over 10 years. I think I announced her deletion because she was so nice, and so I used to get her all the time because she was so. I felt like she was so gullible, so nice, and so welcoming to people, where it literally cost her life. Where if we talked about her plans and stuff, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna work 3 jobs, I'm gonna doing this, blah blah." And then certain places she'll go, I'm like, and she'll talk about certain people, like they sound sketchy, Oh no, he's cool. I'm like, still be prepared, have an exit strategy. And one of my homeboys reached out to me, like, "Yo, Katie passed away." It's like, no, no. And he's like, yeah. And he explained it and he sent me the link of the news article and I was heated. Heated. And that was the one I'm like, I always keep on her about the stuff. I'm always saying stuff about that. And at the same time, I'm like, if anybody else deserved to go, it should have been somebody else. That was the most nicest, sweetest person I've ever met in my life. It's so, and I don't want to take gullible as a negative. I'm like so gullible, just like everybody's my friend. And I'm like, no, and it ticked me off. So ticked me off. But yeah, but the friendships though. So I don't know. Some know how to be aware of the situation, some don't. I don't know.
So I couldn't really tell from his story if he was talking about it, like was it a creator meetup, like whereas in there's a bunch of content creators who are meeting each other, or was it he was meeting up with a bunch of his subscribers slash followers? Because the relationship is different, right? If I were to meet up with a bunch of people who just are subscribed to me or follow me, I'm used to seeing them in my chat. I say what's up to them and whatever, but our relationship is such that they support me and I appreciate them supporting me, right? The parasocial relationship is one-sided. They're feeding me and I'm saying thank you, right? But in essence, they see me as a friend and whatever. They should be able to keep a healthy boundary there though, to know like I'm not a real friend. I don't actually really know them. When I say love you guys, mean it, I'm everyone sees that and thinks it's to them because I'm looking at the camera. It's not directly at, you know what I mean? So you should be able to keep that division there. And then it gets a little more, I think, murky when we start going to like, well, you have behind the scenes ways of communicating. So like Discord, for example, is a huge way. And like we used to be in Discord calls, like actual voice calls for literally 24/7. I'm not even kidding. There was always a call on. And if you weren't doing anything, you were in the call. That's how like my first group of friends, I will say that I was, but that's how we were. So, you can, at that point, you start being like, okay, well, the content creator whose Discord this is still kind of like the king, right? but we're all starting to feel like, hey, we all know each other, we're all family, whatever, but it's still parasocial in nature, because we're still really all here to feed the king in a way. And we're all here vying for the king's attention and for the king to put us first, second, third, fourth. We don't realize it because we're thinking, oh, we're all friends, we're all equals, but you're not really. When you get a bunch of content creators, that can make it, I'll say, even more confusing, because now you guys are all equals. You don't necessarily actually even watch or support each other's content, right? You are like, okay, me and Grey Pill, right? I'm here like on Tuesdays and whatever, right? But like we know each other from being on panels with each other, not because one of us was watching the other person's channel first, right? So we came into this relationship like we're both panelists, we're both content creators. Oh, we were both in the same chat room this one time, but it's like, we're both content creators, so it's like we're on the same level. It's like, hey, you're gonna feed my channel, but I need you to feed my channel too. And like if there's an equality there, so it's less one-sided. And so if he's talking about other creators, then I can be like, okay, maybe these creators, they did the meetup and then it was like, yeah, I actually like you. Hey, we actually have things in common. And hey, yeah, I'm going to actually reach out behind the scenes in the Discord, or hey, I got your phone number now. I'll text you and say, hey, how you doing? Or hey, you looked sad the other day. What's up? Right. And then you're building the beginnings of a friendship. Right. So it's like, I don't know. I can't say necessarily that, he's gotten that wrong, or the perception wrong, because I don't necessarily know all of those details, right? What I do still think, though, is that his, like, the crying part of it, again, makes me really think that he has no idea why all his relationships in his life fell apart, which is why, again, I will go back to, this is a person who has no idea that relationships take work. And he has no idea what a social emotional work looks like. And so it just so happens that in his desperation and loneliness, he was putting in the work to distract him from his desperation and loneliness, which is what was building these relationships with these people to begin with. And so he's like, oh yeah, you have friendships now, and he's super appreciative, but it doesn't sound like he's learned anything. So to me, it doesn't sound like these friendships are going to end any better than the first ones did. So that's where I'm at so far.
I think those were his subscribers. I feel like that's, so I've created over the years legitimate actual friendships with subscribers. I think it depends on who you are as a content creator, or how you run your content in your channel, or just your basic personality. I mean, he to me comes off more as, if you get so far into this thing, right, that this is like your full-time job or whatever else you're doing, right, alongside with the content, this does become, because I have also an online business as well, and part of it is the YouTube and Instagram and other social media. I've not left my house for time, and for like a week and a half sometimes, at least. Like, that car outside has had the same amount of miles. The most miles that car got was when I drove from Wisconsin to here, and I've had the car for like 2 years. Okay, to Greensboro. I'm always here, so your life becomes virtual. I think he woke up one day and realized that there's nobody in real life, and I don't know if it's that he's unwell. I took that as this, like, oh my gosh, these people actually, I thought they were just subscribers. But once we got in the same space and shared energy physically, that he was like, these are like really my friends. I thought that they were just subscribed. At least that's what I got.
Have you heard of Colleen Ballinger? Hold on, we have to go here.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Colleen Ballinger?
I have.
I know the weirdo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the issue with parasocial relationships, and this is why, as a content creator, now I'm not saying that you can't ever make a friend or two from your subscribers, right? But Colleen Ballinger is the poster child of why you shouldn't.
She's the poster
because
child for inappropriate dealings with young people that
Yeah,
are
but
minors.
here's the thing: she had inappropriate, but she wasn't sexually dealing with them or anything like that. Like she's not a pedo, right? Her problem was that she made friends with her subscribers, not understanding that this one-way parasocial relationship where they're being attached one way in a way that there's a power dynamic in this social relationship that she's unaware of. So therefore, it actually, to a large extent, whether you're talking about adults, teenagers, children, what it does is it actually takes away some of the autonomy, right? And some of the, oh, they're making choices that you think is happening, right? And so the reason why I'm using her as is just because it's a really glaring example right now that you can stop and you can think about and realize, well, hey, listen, all these people love her. They love her content. They so look up to her. And we're not talking about just children. We're also talking about adults, right? It's just the only thing that is like, getting the play predominantly is Adam and, the young kids who were coming to her shows and stuff like that, right? Which, by the way, were happening for years. And guess what she got from that? Oh, she got a Netflix special. So it's not like it was a secret. What we're recognizing now, though, is that in retrospect, wait a minute, a lot of subscribers who are looking at content creators, it's like there's an idol worship there. It's a one-sided relationship. It's not a real relationship. It's not a real friendship at all. And there's an imbalance there that kind of does make you then turning around and relying on this person like a friend and whatever. It actually is imbalanced. And that's why I said if it's a subscribers and then it was just a subscriber random meetup and now the subscriber's like, oh my god, you gave me your phone number, I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna check on you, I'm gonna whatever. It is not a healthy thing to do, because more often than not, because of the way parasocial relationships work, even if you're not meaning to, you're gonna be taking advantage of these people. This is why you shouldn't make those relationships. That's why teachers, professors who are, if I'm an adult and you're my professor, I should not become friends with you if you're my professor, right? Because again, there's a one-sided relationship and a one-sided power dynamic there that even if the professor's not meaning to take advantage of, is going to be in play regardless. And so
I think that's
a little bit,
yeah, but wouldn't that be a little bit differently though? Because the teachers, the student / professor dynamic is more like it's like that's well, crap, I'm probably throwing myself in the bus by saying it, more like a real job relationship, even though it's like I think that's more of a professional level than the YouTube one, because YouTube is like you have to build connections. But I do see the one-sidedness of it. Like, hey, I'm here to do one job. People gravitate, see me in a different light. But then we do these meetups. That's what a disconnect I can't see. I'm trying to understand with him. It's like you have these connections, you entertain, you perform, or whatever you do on your platform, and then you have these meetups. Again, it's still part of the niche. And then once we get together, for somehow he breaks down like, oh, these are my friends. I'm trying to understand at that moment how, unless, because he did mention the Discord relationships and stuff like that. Again, for me, I think it was just like more of a shocker for him to say, hey, you know what? Everything we said in Discord, everything we said in private, everything we said before, maybe he had red flags or reservations for them. And then once actually real life for that one moment, it added up for him. It's like, oh, now they're real friends. But I will have to disagree with him for that moment, because it's like you can still in your mind holding like, okay, I can see this person as a friend, but are we friends? I would have to say no until more engagements, more boundaries, more vetting, like the Hank situation, right? Me and Hank had personal conversations, not one-on-one, but like group stuff or panels behind the scenes. But some maybe a little personal too. But me and him cannot call each other friends because, hey, we're associates, we're cool with one another. That's pretty much how we go. We got our own boundaries, our personal boundaries. But if it ever be a quote unquote meetup, we're still, I believe that we're going to keep the same vibe, the same energy up there. But again, it's only one meetup. That doesn't break a mold like, oh, well, now we're from associate to friends. No, we're still cool. We're still cool. But I don't want to hold what's up, because I want to show this last little response video, because we got to my bad, Wes, but the video is entitled, saving the white man. So I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what's going on over there. So Not everybody. Somehow, some way, some people is doing some extra video and talking about saving the white man. So
I'm so into this.
And to be fair, we voted for this. We voted for this.
Yeah.
So Wes is aware. So Wes is going to yeah, exactly. Alicia, come on, grown man. Why?
Cannot be born white. Cannot be born white. That's the title. You cannot be born white.
Yes, that's the that's the title for this segment right here for this conversation. You cannot be born white. So we're gonna save the white man.
Okay. No one is born white.
What are we doing?
What? Question for us this evening. Can white people be saved?
I'm gonna let the video rock out, but Wes, can you be saved? Can you be saved?
I'm agnostic, so I don't really think it applies to me. So
all right, fair enough. Let's go.
What is going on?
Let's talk about the sleep gap. Did you know that Black Americans do not sleep as well as white Americans do? The Center for Disease Control and Prevention conducted and published research in 2020 on sleep in the US. The results showed that 43.5% of Black or African Americans had trouble sleeping, compared with 30.7% of white respondents. Black and Latinx people in the US spend 15% of their night in deep sleep, which is the most restorative and regenerative phase of sleep, compared to 20% of white Americans. Poor sleep is a public health problem. Whether it's because of historical stress, maltreatment, or health inequities, Black Americans do not sleep enough. And poor sleep is a feedback loop, and the effects of poor sleep mean you're more likely to get bad sleep again. This sleep gap is worsened for people that are low income, disabled, or undocumented. Looking back to the enslavement of Black people in the US, fatigue has been used as a measure of control against Black people. This is why several campaigners and academics are pitching sleep as an act of resistance for the Black community. To rest, even to take naps, is an act of self-care, is an act of resistance. So this Black History Month, to any Black person watching this video, remember to rest.
All right, I feel like everything she said, I feel like we're depriving Wes.
You're depriving us of our sleep. You're the oppressor.
Yeah.
You're oppressing Wes right now.
that's right. I sneak into Black people's windows at night and I just steal sleep from them.
Wes is the one trying to go to sleep early on us. We're like, no, we still want to talk. And Wes like, yo, I need to go to bed now. Right? I don't get it.
Oh, the irony.
I got you, Wes.
Oh my god.
Man, that was funny. She went so left for that one. She was bringing everything from roots, from Kuta Kinte. And
none of this. There was not a lick of logical sense in any of this. First of all, if white people in the United States were as she has portrayed them, and trust me, this isn't just a joke. I can connect this. If the white people were really exactly what she was trying to describe, we would extradite every Black person to Canada. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Let me tell you why. Look, I guarantee you,
in case you're a white
on a broad spectrum, the thing is, they were looking at African American versus white. They didn't look at this geographically. This is a vitamin D deficiency. Truly 100%. Optimal vitamin D levels lead to better sleep. Okay, if the average white person in the United States is vitamin D deficient, that means the average Black person in the United States is way more vitamin D deficient. Okay, that's all biological fact if you want to go look that up. The reason why I'm making this weird connection of sending them all to Canada is the further north you go, the more vitamin D deficient a person is prone to be.
Okay, look at Wes. I got you, Wes.
Okay, you have some skill.
Look, when you have to deal with children crying about, children stealing toys, listening to this woman is easy. Okay. I've taken her abundance of nonsense and tried to extrapolate something that actually makes feasible, logical sense. The very fact that she was using the term, we're going to go. I mean, damn you, Angelus, for bringing this thing up. Okay, because I'm waking up again. First of all, notice how she used the word, Latinx or Latinx. This is the most colonizing thing a person can ever do. Colonizing, and I don't ever use that term. Okay, Latinx is the word that does not exist. I've had to explain what Latinx is to friends of mine in South America because they're like, "What the hell is Latinx? Who's saying this?" It's all these liberals in the United States saying, you poor savage South American, Latin American peoples. Here, let me fix your language for you. I don't speak fluent Spanish, but I can fix your language. Or, yeah, I grew up in the United States. I speak halfway Spanish, but let me fix your language for you. That this is the only language you speak, the only language your ancestors have ever spoken for the past couple hundred years. Let me fix it for you, you poor bastards, because you have a gendered language. So let's remove that and put in Latinx. Did you know in Latin American papers, when they come up with the scientific papers, they generally do not say Latinas and Latinos. They actually do have a gender neutral word just to make it easier for their papers. But at no point are these liberal morons taking this into consideration, because they didn't do any actual research. They didn't go down to South America and do a survey and be like, do you feel how horrible your language actually is? Here, let me fix that for you. If I were to fix your language, would you be happier? No one gives a damn. So that is actually the most colonistic thing possible, and this is not a North American term. This is out literally throughout all human civilization term. Most people don't realize that a lot of the major discussions we're having right now about the past couple hundred years, nothing new about it. Welcome to the human race. This has always been a thing. But when a nation overtakes another nation, or when a village overtakes another village, one of the first things you do is you make sure they do not speak their own language. You indoctrinate their language first. Look at Japan. Everybody thinks, Japan, they speak Japanese. Those are the winners. That was the prefecture that won. If you still go to those prefectures, you still find remnants of their original language, especially in Okinawa, because that was the last one to be conquered. Similar in China. Every one of those prefectures, every one of those little villages, little kingdoms, they had their own languages. Eventually, Han Chinese took over and said, "This is my language. You don't speak it, then you're not a citizen." Look at Spain. Same thing there. Spanish is actually the language of Madrid. Every individual state had its own language, and they still actually teach these things simultaneously, which I find to be very, very, very interesting. Because if you go to Catalan, you will learn Spanish and Catalan language. Catalonian, sorry. So where these liberals think that they're doing a good for the world by changing someone's language without asking them. They're actually forcing this upon people. It's colonistic. They're trying to colonize. They're confusing. They're trying to confuse Latin Americans. It's ridiculous. Now, okay. So if you notice the preacher man there from the Yale Divinity school, like if you go back, read the bottom of that, Yale Divinity. Yeah. Can white people look at this?
White
Okay.
man's Yale. I'm sorry, the white man's Yale. That wasn't even Howard or. I'm sorry. I'm shut up. But go ahead.
You're fine.
Well, it's not the white man's Yale anymore. The one drop rule.
Oh, dang. Thanks for letting me know that.
Only one drop. Ruby brought it up. Blame it on you. But here's the thing that's really going to blow your mind. Remember, I'm agnostic. Okay, believe what you want to believe. I see the value in a lot of the Judeo-Christian religion. I see the value in saying, let's just be good to each other. All right. So when the Africans were first brought over here and how they got here, there's a whole different discussion. They didn't have Christianity. Okay. They had their own individual religions from the continent of Africa.
It's true.
They came over here, and this is one of those colonistic things. You make sure they don't practice their traditions or their religions. You break them completely apart from that to demoralize them. And you start imposing other beliefs upon them, say, well, this is the belief now. And a lot of these, the generations of slaves that came after, they were adopting this and importing it into their own children. So basically, this black man at Yale Divinity is trying to make the argument that white people can't be saved because they're white. That all came from a religion that was forced upon his people, because that's not what his ancestors came over here believing.
That's the ignorance all over again. Ignorance all over again. I ain't gonna lie. Straight bars, Wes. Straight bars. Straight bars.
See, they can't even figure out what's going on.
I had no idea.
See?
I had no idea.
You bring me in for the hard problems, okay?
So seriously, they be the funniest motherfuckers.
You know the thing is, I was really listening to her.
I was too.
I was like, mm-hmm. I was really listening to her, and I was like, and then curveball.
It's an act of resistance.
Curveball, act of resistance. Imagine you're on the job and people are like, yo, stop sleeping on the job. I'm resisting. No, bitch, you're fired.
Exactly.
And you're talking. You talking to someone that used to sleep on the job when I was at Rogers. Yo, fuck that.
I mean, listen,
I couldn't sleep well, so my shit was all fucked up. My sleeping, I was stressed. I didn't like my job. I had a hard time to sleep, so I could fall asleep anywhere. My pressure was so fucking low and stuff like that. But yeah, why did you shoot him? Because he was resisting arrest. He was sleeping.
But I get what you know what I think the problem is? I think these people, they have to use the most extreme language.
Oh, yes.
To describe, it's like,
yes,
we're going to stop lynchings in America, and that's how we'll resist supremacy. I'm like, okay, take a nap, but that's how we'll resist. I'm like, you're putting everything in the same fucking basket.
I was listening.
Listen, there may be racial reasons why inequality exists, but the reality is people don't sleep well because they have multiple jobs or because they're hyper stressed because they don't make much money.
Sure.
I'm sure if you did the same study and just put people on based off income, black people will probably be on par, if not very close, to white folks in that regard.
That are poor.
Yep.
It'd be a class thing more than anything, right?
Yeah.
It just shows you like poverty is a bitch. When you're not making money, when you got to work multiple things or odd jobs just to make ends meet, it fucks up your sleep cycle. And like what she said about sleep being a super detriment, I can speak to myself because for a long time I didn't sleep well, both because of my medical condition, which overrepresents for people from where I'm from, but also just because of like trying to make ends meet as a gig economy worker. Like it was very hard to have a good sleep schedule. So one day you're going to bed at 4 a.m. The next day you're going to bed at 4 p.m. because you had a gig at 2 a.m. or whatever it might be. So it's hard to get good sleep. And when you know, look, I know what's like to not get good sleep, and then I know what it's like to transition. The difference is 9 days. The difference between sleeping and not sleeping, like for me, I was much more personable. I felt more present. I was much more aware. My memory was better. My performance was better. Everything just becomes substantially better. So it's a compounding issue where you're already poor and you're struggling, then you can't get sleep. So it's hard for you to get the leg up. Like, it's all real things. It's just a lot of these activist types, they code everything in extreme language, makes you turn off. It's like, in order to define white supremacy, we need you to take a nap. My brothers and sisters, straight from Zulu Nation, you need to get sleep to connect with the African spiritualness. Oh, shit.
Like, that's what I'm saying. The first half,
it's a nap, bitch.
Yeah, it's a nap.
It's important, but it's a nap.
Important, but
make sure you take a doo-doo, because holding it in makes you hold.
I ain't gonna lie, I like my naps. I wasn't a nap person when I was younger. I would sleep a good, oh man, I miss those days, a good 8 hours sleep. Now I got like a 4 or 5 in me, and I was like, you know what? I can good nap in. I'm good for a nap. I love my naps.
So basically, being black has never stopped you from having a nap.
No.
See, like I said, it's a vitamin D deficiency.
I disagree though. And the reason why I disagree, I was just going to post it in the chat. I was going to post just a couple studies. The reason why is because I have a circadian rhythm disorder. And so I've literally my entire life never been able to sleep according to what's normal. And it actually took an incredibly long time to be diagnosed, predominantly because they try to then group you into insomnia, but you don't have insomnia. Your circadian rhythm is just off from we'll say the majority demographic. And so there's major circadian rhythm disorders depending on race. And they've been studying it, just basically European descent versus African descent. And so you can actually see that, those inherent differences are going to create a lot more issues with a lot more people not being able to get enough sleep or sound sleep, given the schedule you have to live on if you're in North America. Just given the fact that in general, human beings right now are not sleeping according to the way that we evolved to sleep, right? Like you're supposed to sleep, wake up, eat, do some stuff, sleep again, wake up, do something. You're supposed to, that's what's naturally supposed to happen. And then the timings that we would be waking up and going back to sleep and waking up again would be different based on where we evolutionarily developed, right? So I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, I'm not saying that vitamin D can't help, just like vitamin B can really actually help people, the B complex as a whole. Omegas can help, magnesium. There's a lot of different vitamin nutritional deficiencies, iron as well.
I was making the broadest statement possible, simply as a response to her making the absolute broadest statement possible, which is why I brought up that she wasn't taking into anything else, especially geographics. But yes, there is a lot of other minerals that can help, a lot of other things, and you would actually talk sometime outside of this. I can tell you how I got over my sleep issues, because the fact that I'm ready to pass out is amazing. But
that's awesome.
The most broadest statement I could make as a response to her most broadest statement that she could come up with in relation to race. That's
which I think is the most ignorant thing ever, because I'm more.
I just assumed that you guys had nightmares or something. I don't know.
No. Actually, if I actually if I try to take a vitamin D drops or whatever, I actually get severely constipated. So it's like I'm taking too much. So I'm actually really good at the level.
We're not supposed to take it that. Look, we need to talk sometime.
No. The reason why I'm saying this is because I was seeing a nutritionist for a while. Whatever.
I think listening to that girl made me racist. I'm so sorry, guys.
No. What I'm saying though is what she actually told me is that, interestingly enough, there could actually be there could be a reverse effect. Whereas then, because you're like, well, I'm like, what they told me basically was that Black people are actually less likely to suffer from vitamin D3 deficiency. Now, I'm not sure if that's because maybe of our melanin, and so the way our skin absorbs and then synthesizes, the sun and whatever is just more efficient. I'm not really sure what it was, to be honest with you. But the D3 thing was less of an answer And so she was like, yeah, no wonder. Yeah, don't take D3. And so it was a whole thing. But like my point just simply was that I don't think she was right either, obviously.
No, she was ignorant. Like the
Yeah,
extreme
no,
didn't even
obviously,
match
she's an
up.
idiot, but-
That's what I'm saying. The extreme didn't even match up to today's society. You're in the life, stuff that Wes was saying and a little bit what you're saying is like naturally we're originally was built to like, hey, we sleep when we want to sleep, eat when we want to, now, but we got jobs, construction, culture, events. Heck, I ain't gonna lie. Let me go cook something right now, and I'm getting itis, but I can't put that on black people. It's just how I am. If I eat a plate of something, I'm gonna get a little sleepies. I'm gonna go get lazy. I'm gonna laying around in my bed. I'm gonna stare at the TV, and then I'm gonna pass out. That's pretty much how it goes. That's just me, So wherever this girl talk about, I think she got issues on top of issues. I agree 100% what Wes said because he was dropping all types of bars because she just one of these, and especially with the generation. Because last time we talked about long time ago, where in my opinion, I was like, yo, this new generation just sucks. But it's not all generations. It's just a large collective of them, just like would just grab all these informations and then dog pile it onto one and throw it at you like, see, this is the truth. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? You got to go find it. Well, you went to go found it and you threw it in my face and you tell me in order how does this line up? It doesn't. So stop saying stuff. Go back to bed. Go back to bed. So
I'm still low-key disappointed. They didn't say anything about black people or white people just not being able to be born. I mean,
oh, we ain't there yet. So I'm gonna show the last one. Then we'll make sure. Hold on, Wes. Hold on, give me 5 minutes, guys. Okay, about the 5 minutes. Right. 5 minutes. I got to make sure. Got to make sure. So I'm gonna skip it to
everyone. Shut up until we get to that part, so that Wes can go to sleep.
I got good vitamin D levels.
Yeah, he did.
For us this evening, can white people be saved?
What is going on? Oh, God.
No one is born white.
What are we doing? What?
Okay. What
are we listening
to?
That's a
funny bar. I suspect this is like a metaphorical thing. No one is born an oppressor, but I think he's just trying. He's being
first.
He's
off,
being slammed with it.
No, but hold on.
He's slamming the metaphors.
Hold on. Put me on game. Who's this dude?
He's a professor at Yale.
That's a professor at Yale.
Apparently,
Divinity
Yale Div
School.
School.
Why even send kids to college now?
Div
Like,
School.
Div.
Do not tell children that. No one is born white. There is no white biology. But whiteness is real. Whiteness is a working, a forming toward a maturity that destroys. Whiteness is an invitation to a form of agency and a subjectivity that imagines life progressing toward what is in fact a diseased understanding of maturity, a maturity that invites us to evaluate the entire world by how far along it is toward this goal. Yes, I want to change the geography because that is the only way. That's the only way to remove us from this vision, this trajectory toward death. And most importantly, I want to save people.
That's a pastor.
bruh. This is a perfect example right here. When division is clear, division is clear.
so this is something that's been happening over the past 10, 15 years where they're trying to create, what do you call it? They're trying to create white as not a race, but an ideology. But prior to that, they created black as an ideology. And this is where I get really confused because let me think here. And I've had black people tell me this, that when they were in school, they got good grades and they were accused of acting white. And they're like, what are you talking about? That I'm just doing my work. It's not
Mhm.
it's not acting white to do good math. I mean, if anything, it's acting Asian, right? But I mean, I'm pointing out the idiocy of this. But I've actually, but I've also met people that believe that because they were a certain race, they have to have a certain mentality and a modality. And no, you choose your own actions. So what this man is preaching is self-victimization and self-hatred, and then just blaming everything. It's like, oh no, whiteness and white are two different things, but they're the same thing at the same time, because people can be born white, but also other people can adopt whiteness, is essentially what he's trying to get to.
Okay.
In reality, paying your taxes is not white. It's just something that people do.
Something that you do. So in actuality, having been a biochemistry major,
Mhm.
there is actually no such thing as white, just like there is no such thing as black. You have melanin in your skin, Wes. Now, your concentration might not be as deep as ours.
Mhm.
Okay. But you as human beings, you have to have, that's a component of your skin. That's a component. You would not live if you had no melanin within you. So technically, there is no, and if you really look at, Caucasian folks, you're really a hue of something. But there is no black people either. So in that regard, this is I tell my people this all the time. In every lie, there's a hair, a bit, even if it's a scintilla of truth. So what they now have to do is separate the truth of the biology from the ideology that they're trying to force down everybody's throat. And these college students that have not fully developed their brains yet are just soaking it up like sponges and without anything. So I mean, I guess in a sense, no, you can't be born white because there really is no such thing as being white.
Well, I think you should have just the way you said it and the way you explained it with some context. I think that's how this pastor Yale guy should have just explained it like that. It would have been a little bit more digestible. But the way
Well, it's
he
still
broke it down,
stupid.
He's still trying to sow hatred.
So divisive.
No, but I think first I have to say that to an extent I disagree because um there are actually differences between and I'll say races, but maybe we'll say ethnicities more so, but races as far as the way that our brains tend to generally process certain types of information. It's the reason why it is that all standardized testing will always have bias worked into it, and there's literally no way to remove the bias. Because depending on, I'll say your race or ethnicity, depending on, and I'm not talking about just what you look like today and whatever, I'm talking about, your ancestry, okay? There are certain types of questions that you are more likely to just answer correctly and to understand inherently. Um, and there are some questions that you are unlikely to understand or answer correctly, no matter how intelligent you are otherwise. Um,
Like
and so
what?
this, okay, so for example, and so when I was taking my psychometrics course, and they came to this point, I was like I know there was three black people in the class, and the whole rest of the class was white or
Yeah, but
Asians,
you're
which was
passing though,
interesting to
so
watch. Yeah, no, but that's not the point. Point is, right, is that therefore when she did the questions that white people, black people, or Asian people would always get right, she told us in advance that that's what it was going to be. And she said, okay, so now we're going to do 5 questions. Okay. And so she read these intelligence questions. Now, this is a school of, really brilliant kids, right? And she was absolutely right. It was almost wild to think that, like, for example, these questions, the ones that she read about black people, because I remember that. The questions were, A is to B as C is to D, like that kind of setup about, say, movement, for example, or about rhythm and musicality, about patterns. It was really interesting that I'm not a dancer, not really into like music like that and whatever, and yet my inherent uh choice every time when I picked the correct synonym every time. And so did the other Black kids in the class. And 99% of the class otherwise got those questions wrong. And likewise, I test so well on standardized testing, but when it came to the biased questions, I failed all of them. And so, and I mean, like, even like to the point where we got to the last ones and I was like trying to overthink it. I'm like, come on. But it's an interesting thing. So I do believe.
So which side did you score on?
Pardon?
Which side did you score on?
What do you mean? What side did I score on?
Did you score as white or score as black?
I'm black.
Oh, Asian. Asian, right?
I knew that was coming. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So in conclusion, though, the point is that there are, like we have determined, is there are actually inherent differences. However, I don't think that's what he was actually talking about at all. I think what he was talking about was the concept of whiteness versus blackness versus yellowness or whatever, brownness, whatever other colors that we group, races into or ethnicities into, right? He's talking about the concept of whiteness as colonizers, the concept of whiteness as you think everyone who's not you is a second-class citizen, and da da da. And he was talking about that this idea that you think you're better than everyone else and that all these other people should look to you as the standard. And if they don't live up to the way that you speak and your religion and your culture and you're this and you're that, well, that means you're inferior and therefore you don't deserve da 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 da. Like that, basically the racist, ethnocentric, white nationalism. That, I think that is really the point he was trying to make, is that no one is born a white nationalist. No one is born inherently hating all other races or thinking other races are inferior to them or whatever it is. Like, no one is born inherently like that. You have to be cultured, conditioned / trained to believe that kind of thing. I think that's what he was really saying.
I still, again, I get that, but I still back to the wordplay. Like, he should have explained it with some real context, like Hart explained, so I can digest it the way it should have got digested. Same thing with the idiot girl earlier. People was with the weird trigger words and the extra of the extra. Heck, he even had like a notepad and a little tablet. So I'm like, bro, what are we doing right now? So I don't know where people was claiming they're trying to grab their information for. Matter of fact, the stuff you're saying is pretty much what a conversation I had with another two guys. For this guy to get out that information, even the woman, to get out these type of information that they're claiming they're giving out the truth information, but it had to take a special type of person like yourself to say, you know what, let me filter through all the noise and then put the pieces together to line up. It shouldn't be that difficult for a conversation, especially if you're trying to give out the truth. Like, it shouldn't.
I don't think he's trying to give out the truth.
I don't think so neither. He's just saying stuff that I really, between him and the other chick, I think they're trying to do a whole weird type of divide. And I think for the young lady, I don't even think she understands what half the stuff she's saying.
No, but see, this is the thing. To Wes's point, I'm one of those people who I've been called white girl. I've been told I'm not black enough. I've been told I'm not this enough. I've been told because of my political leanings, then all of a sudden I'm a sellout or I'm a this, I'm a that, or what have you, right? So I've never been black enough to be black, and I'm damn for sure not white enough to be white. However, in this day and age, I would be considered a self-hater because I grew up in white neighborhoods. I attended Northwestern University on an academic scholarship, not an athletic one. You know what I'm saying? All of these things that all have been because I scored very well on my SAT. I'm that old, that it was still the SAT then. I'm not black. Somehow then I've taken on the whiteness of my oppressor because I'm not ghetto. And so that's that. I understood fully what he was saying, but that's what they'll do to us if we dare to be independent, coherent thinkers.
Yeah, but hold on. You said that you'd be considered white or a self-hater because now again children do stuff like that, certainly, right? The fact that you speak eloquently, because white people do it to you too,
Oh,
because I've
grown
never been
ignorant
told I
adults.
speak eloquently except by white people, but
Grown
you
ignorant
know
adults do it too. I'm in the South, and
Absolutely.
I'm in the South, and they still do it. Like I'll go to, again, how you supposed to present yourself when you go for a job interview. I get dressed up, hand a resume. I don't even hand an application. I hand the resume with the application, do everything professionally, clean
I
cut,
didn't even
anything
get to
else.
make my point. You're
I'm
like
sorry. Go ahead.
arguing against a point I didn't make yet.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right, where they literally will just say, well, you don't speak like this way, therefore you're this, right? Or, well, you went to college because you smart, oh, therefore you hate yourself, right? But normally, and again, this is just me, because again, I got the exact same thing my entire life. Never mind the extra rejection you get when your culture is Jamaican. So but yeah. But what I'm saying is that generally when I hear the terms like, for example, self-hate, or Oreo or whatever, it's more than just the way that you speak or where you were born, or what your profession is or whatever. In adults, they tend to add things like, for example, you only date white people or not your own race, and other types of intentional rejections of your own race or culture. So I have definitely heard of people calling people self-hating and whatever because they happen to have a white spouse, because they were born and raised somewhere where it's like all white people or whatever, but not just because of the way that you're speaking or whatever. For the majority, I won't say it doesn't, there's still not some
I
people
think that
who are ignorant, but
I don't think you realize how much it actually happens. And I'm glad that you don't, because that means you haven't experienced it.
no, I
And I just
experienced
came
it.
down south from the north. So I can tell you it's way more prevalent for way less things than who I happen to date at the time. You know what I'm saying? It literally will be that superficial. I was picking up fried chicken, for God's sake, one day, and the man wanted me to sign a recall petition for the governor and the state at the time. And because I wouldn't sign the petition, he didn't know me from Adam. I'm in the chicken joint. I'm picking up my chicken. That's all I want, man, is my chicken. Okay. And I'm not here for a political conversation, but because I would not sign that, now I'm a self-hating coon.
Right, which had nothing to do with the way you're speaking. That's what my point simply was, that they're latching on to other things at that point, right? Because now they're saying, well, maybe you're a conservative or you're anti this movement, and everyone who votes this way is black. And so if you don't vote that way, well, then you must be a self-hater, right? So I was just saying that, kids will latch on to, well, this is the way you speak, or, oh, you good at
It's
English or that.
adult.
And I absolutely got that.
Yeah,
Trust me. But I'm just saying that even in your example, it had nothing to do with the way you were speaking. It was your
I
refusal
can
to jump on that bandwagon politically.
right, but sweetheart, I'm just telling you that I'm giving you different examples, but that's my experience. I literally have had people say, because of how I speak, because I do not speak Ebonics as a primary language or whatever, or my inflection isn't a certain way. Now it's a little bit more Southern than it was when I was growing up, or when I was a young adult, I should say. I had grown people, 40, 50, 60, white girl, you need to really learn how to talk. You need to get in touch with your blackness. You need to da, 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 da. These are grown people. So it's more than just kids.
Okay, I didn't say it was just kids.
It permeates. And now the issue is that now the liberal has been allowed, the Caucasian liberal now has been allowed to speak into us and decide our ethnicity for us, our level of blackness for us. There's all this divisiveness on it. You have to be a certain way in order to be considered. So I think it's much more pervasive in adults.
Well, I'm not saying it's not more pervasive in adults. I just think we can't solve this problem unless we actually recognize what's going on. It's the foundational blocks are starting with, oh, if you don't speak like me, and that's being trained into small kids, right? And then you're also separating according to a grade of hair and blah, 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 light skinnedness, so on and so forth, right? So if you're good at math or science or whatever, if you like going to school, God forbid, if you don't want to be a gangster, if you don't like rap music, if you like rock music, whatever, right? As kids get older, it starts with the language, and then they start adding things on top of it. You don't like the culture, you like this white culture, you're trying to be white, oh, you got a white boyfriend, oh, you trying to be white, so on and so forth. What I'm saying is that, well, we can't even speak to the problem if you don't recognize that in the story that you told. This is what I was just pointing out. It had nothing to do with the way you were speaking. It had to do probably with, I'm guessing the reason why you didn't want to sign is because you didn't agree with the petition for whatever reason,
Or she
which I'm
wanted her
not going to
chicken and
argue at
just leave.
all. I'm just saying, or maybe even that. But the point is that the perception had nothing to do with the way you were speaking. It had to do with the way, a very simplistic way of thinking about voting in politics that is very problematic, and is an expansion of this thing that kids start doing from a very young age to be very divisive. So I was just saying that generally, it's not just in adults. It's not just, oh, well, I heard you speaking this way, you must be a self-hater. Like, no, they're normally attaching something else to that, and then using, and you're light skinned and you speak that way and whatever. So they're using the rest of that as like ammunition to prove the fact that like they're right. But it's normally because, again, you're rejecting religion, or you're rejecting leftism, you're rejecting the current political whatever, you're rejecting hip hop music, whatever it is, right? Like, it's normally extra things that we've attached to our culture or to the ideals of Blackness, right? And it's
I'm
like
just
a
glad you
global
haven't
thing.
had the experience, dear. I'm just glad.
All right,
I literally had the experience. I think you don't actually listen, because I literally said I have the experience and have had the experience.
I mean, the
my whole
experience
life.
of being, the experience of just simply by speaking, then there's tons of assumptions. I use different
I literally
examples.
have, but again, like I said, and again, I'm not sure why you're not able to hear that I've said literally I've had the experience countless times. But again, in adults, it's not that basic, because they're drawing a bunch of additional assumptions, and it's not just about the way you're speaking anymore. It's just not. And so we can't solve the problem if we don't fully understand the problem.
All right, we're gonna agree to disagree. Wes gotta go night night. So Wes, final words, and we're gonna get out of here.
Get it? I built this place. Down here, I make the rules.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a great conversation. That's why I stayed on later than normal. This is the new public square where everyone can get together and learn how to watch us and learn how to have a decent conversation and not actually devolve into a food fight, mainly because we're on the internet. Ruby, and thank you very much for being my favorite Canadian Asian, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is called being original. Now, if anybody out there in YouTube land wants to go ahead and challenge my blackness, you can meet me at the swimming pool. I guarantee you, I'm not making it across. I can't swim for shit.
Now understanding why Wes doesn't have a channel. It's because he can't already. All right. Fine.
And with that, good night, everyone. It's been such a pleasure.
Good night,
Appreciate
Wes.
you, Wes. Jesus Christ. Heart Inspiration, I appreciate you for coming on, like always. Final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was highly entertaining. I was just gonna actually go to bed, so you've kept me from going to sleep. Thanks again so much. I really appreciate it. A wonderful discussion. I always love to have these kind of intelligent conversations, and I'll let you next time I'm going on so that you can come up on my panel.
Oh, no problem. I'm always subscribed. I will have the bell up there, so when it comes up, and if not, I'll definitely be your mod.
All right, thank you,
do
my
my job.
friend. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Good night, Ruby. Good to meet you.
Good night. Can you drop your channel in the chat so people can subscribe to you if they'd like to?
Yes, I'll find it right now.
Oh yeah, I forgot I'm a mod. I'm like, I can't do that.
Exactly. I wanted you to use your mod power, okay? I didn't want to do it for you. I wanted you to do it.
Use my mod powers for good and not for evil.
Exactly. See, now you get it.
That part.
Did we get it? Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I have it now.
Okay, good.
All right, that is Heart Inspirations channel. You can definitely please check her out. If you go there, at the very least, hit the like button. Let her know Grey Pill sent you.
Yeah, I
So
have a feeling my
appreciate
mom will
her
like
very
her.
much coming up.
She's religious and everything.
Yeah, she got a lot going on over there. That's how I found Armand Wiggum. Actually, she might be in the clouds. Me and her got in contact. Jesus Christ. Road Nerd. Because I love Rogue Nerd. So she had told me about, I was trying to like find a whole banner and everything about the channel when I was trying to like figure out the banner and all this stuff. And she was like, hey, check out Heart Inspiration, check out Armand Wiggum. So I was checking all these channels and I was comparing it. And them two was actually on one day. This is like the ending phase of him calling out Tasha K. And I happened to be on a panel on her platform when he was there. And I said, hey, I had modeled my my banner a little bit after yours, you know, because I liked how yours was. And he said, oh, really? I was like, yeah. So I showed it to he looked at it, he's like, oh, yours better than mine. I was like, oh, thank you. Appreciate it. So, and now he's clocking 3,000 viewers in his chat like crazy.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, really good content creator. Yeah, we had got in touch, Heart, and very cool person. She actually, I don't know if it's legit, but she's planning on relocating. So she got a lot of good stuff going on for her in her life. So I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her. Final thoughts, lady. Final thoughts.
All right. Well, and I think this is part of the issue. I mean, ultimately it comes down to, it would be absolutely ridiculous. And that's what I was like, are you suggesting white, what do you think they do? Do you think they give them bleach tablets or something? Like, I'm confused. Where do you think white people are coming from? But, you know, it comes down to, I don't think that's what he was talking about. And if he was talking about white, because really whiteness only exists in North America. It's the only place it really exists. This concept of whiteness, and whiteness describes the majority demographic of people. And every 20, 30 years or so, which ethnicities get to be included in whiteness change based on the fact that they generally need to shore up their numbers and keep themselves the majority demographic. So that means people who were not white yesterday get to be white today. And that has been happening. Like, Italian people weren't initially white, right? Irish people weren't initially white, right? So whiteness was a concept. It had nothing to do with your skin color or other type of traits or whatever. Right? It really didn't. Whiteness was a class, right? It was basically like the North American caste system. And to a large extent, it's still a caste system. And if you fit into a particular demographic, so when you take, for example, some people from Asia, depending on their skin tone and or other of their features, like, for example, them having a wider or thinner nose or whatever, they might not necessarily be grouped as white. They might actually get grouped somewhere else, right? And so it becomes like really like, well, what do these things even mean? Well, they don't mean anything unless you're at the top or at the bottom, right? And what does the top mean? Well, if you don't really care, I guess not much of anything. But if you do and you like being at the top, then it normally means that you get to be the ones in power. You get to be the ones who have the privilege of protecting your children from the idea that the world is a bad, scary place and mean bad things can happen. Because generally, you don't have to prepare your children from a very early age that the police could pull out a gun and maybe even shoot you because they might be scared because, well, you're darker than that other kid over there. You don't, there's certain privileges that come with whiteness as an identity, as an entity in North America. And so if he's talking about that, well, he's right? Like, not only does whiteness exist as an entity or an identity, just like blackness exists as an identity in North America, their existence has nothing to do with reality. It doesn't have to do with the things I was talking about, for example, ethnic differences in performance on certain types of IQ test questions or standardized testing questions, right? Like it has nothing to do with that. It really doesn't. It just literally has to do with whether or not they tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you get to be part of the haves, or you get to be part of the have-nots," right? So I guess he was sort of making a good point, sort of, but the way that he made the point is kind of the way that when people say, "I don't see color," like I felt like that, like you know what I mean? Like I hate when people say, "I don't see color." Really?
I
That's
don't.
like it's so invalidating and so disrespectful to say that, because you're basically ignoring vital key differences in my existence or being that need to be tended to, that need to be cared for, and,
I
and
can't I
why
can't
need to
speak
be
I
different.
can't speak for everybody, but for me, when I say that,
Are you
I,
colorblind?
I'm not colorblind, but I think they tie to a race. Like when I say I don't see color, I don't see a race, but I understand, like, I guess cultural differences. When I see white people do certain things, and my mom like, oh, that's a white thing. That's a white thing, or white people's problem. Or when black people do some things, I was like, oh, typical black person. Or when somebody tell a story, I'm like, let me guess, was that an Asian person? Was that a Latino person? And then if I pick the race out, they're like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, typical, and I just move on from there. But I think for me, when I say I don't see color, meaning that pretty much an equal opportunity employer for us dating wise. Like I don't discriminate. Dating, sleeping with, hanging out, being friends with. That's what I mean when I say I don't see color. But I think everybody else
Okay.
might mean it a little bit differently though.
Yeah, because normally when people are saying it, it's normally members of the majority demographic who would be
Mhm.
classified as white, and they're saying it about, like, for example, I don't know, let's say they have a biracial child or an adopted child, and they're saying, "I don't see color, so I treat this kid the way I treat me," even
And
though
it could be
maybe that
American
kid's
thing too.
hair. It's not, well, I say it's North American. A lot of times it's North American because again, race doesn't exist as a concept outside of North America, right? Like people are in Africa are not saying, well, we're all black, so we're all peoples. Like, no, where you're from is where you're from. And it's not even just like your country, it's your tribe, right? That's where your belonging is. So there's no race like that, right? You're talking about your people is your people, right? Jamaicans don't see all black people as their people or whatever. They see all Jamaicans as their people. You're either from Jamaica or you're from foreign, and that's it. That's the lines of separation. It's really only in North America and like other westernized places
Yeah,
like
but
this.
a lot of them do get offended if you misidentify a Jamaican as a Haitian or a Haitian as the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
because
they
that's ethnicity matters. They don't
yeah.
care about there's no blackness or whatever, right? And I mean, Europeans are like that too. They don't want you to call them white. They're normally like I'm Bulgarian or I'm whatever, and they care about their heritage and their ethnicity.
Well, as long as they
So
make it clear, because like on here in the States, we just when we see, an example of West, it's like, oh, you're white, and we just leave it like that. But we
yeah,
know that they're not. Like we know they're not. So
exactly. But no, I think what people need to realize when I'm talking about this, I don't see color and why it's a problem is because we're talking about specific differences that, for example, someone who has straight hair that is, type 1A and normal porosity is going to have different needs than someone who has 4C hair that is high porosity, right? And just saying, well, I treat it the same because I don't see color is harmful to the health of that kid's hair. And therefore, it's probably going to be harmful to their view of how manageable their hair is, how pretty their hair is, and whatever. And actually, there's a person named Kidology who literally basically says that that's why she will always wear wigs and always think her natural hair is impossible, because of the way that she never had an experience where anyone understood her hair or made it accessible, easy, beautiful, whatever. So there is an issue. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use your color as a limiting factor, right? Like if you're black, it doesn't mean you can't read, write, love science, get scholarships, become a board member, become a CEO, whatever. Like, no, I hate when people use like race as a limiting factor. Like, oh, well, how are you ever going to do that? You black. Like, dude, work hard. You might have to work twice as hard to get half as far in some cases, whatever. So then work twice as hard, right? Like, you shouldn't use it as a limiting factor, but it's ridiculous to pretend like, oh no, just we all look the same. We all have the exact same experience. There's no differences between us. Everything is, dude, it's ridiculous and childish, in my opinion. So.
All right. On that note, appreciate you. Did everything work out well with the family? Get them to the plane, all that stuff, safe?
Mm-hmm. Just heard from my sister now. I don't know. Something's going on with their Christmas pictures from yesterday.
As long as they got on the plane safe and they got where they need to go.
Apparently she landed. She's safe because she texted me. So.
Okay, that's good
right.
to know. That's good to hear. All right. So next Tuesday, got anything set on the schedule? I'm gonna make sure next week, an hour earlier. Yeah, earlier I was pretty much just letting everybody know that the ones that post the miscommunication, they already know. Marcus, if you're in the clouds, I'm gonna need a translator for Tuesday because one of the guests is coming on does not speak English. So they read everything's in the messages. So again, smartphones, right? So I'm going to reach out to between Poppy Blanco and Marcus to come on, just be a translator for the conversation. If anybody out there in the clouds knows somebody that speaks Spanish, very well, I'm not asking people to put their insight. I'm asking for a translator, okay, for the conversation for next Tuesday. So we're going to have at least 3 special guests on for the conversation. All right. It's going to be a very, very good one. So I appreciate you, like always, Ruby, for coming on through. And I will catch you on the next one, like always.
Cheers.
All right. And then there is me. Let me get that crap out my face. Get it out my face. Okay. So what's the message is? All right. So in about an hour, I don't care. I'm going to go ahead. I planned it earlier in the day. I planned it the afternoon. Life, day, sleepy, tired, lack of D deficiency, melanin. I don't know what was going on, but the holidays, that could be the excuse too. In about an hour, I will go ahead and review the Andrew Tate interview with Pierce Morgan because I thought that was hilarious. And again, it just proves to me that Andrew Tate is a bunch of shite. So I will be reviewing that in an hour from now with Andrew Tate. No excuses, no excuses. I will go ahead and put that at full throttle. Next week, Tuesday, it is confirmed. The conversation was going to have originally today about is being overweight, is that a choice? What is the middle ground with being overweight? What's the middle ground for being skinny, anorexic? That is going to be the conversation for next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that up and make sure everything is being prepped and ready for Tuesday. Everybody already have their notices. We got confirmation from everybody to come on through for next week, Tuesday, so we can have that group conversation. Anything beyond that, just make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. I apologize because we came late, so I didn't have to do my normal introduction. So let me just go ahead and get that out the way now.
For those that's listening out there in the YouTube universe, shout out to Great Pill Podcast. Go holler at him. Hell yeah. Give him a like and subscribe. Go view his channel, if you will. Courtesy of Classic Lights.
Again, I appreciate everybody comments, even Yasmin. I appreciate her for coming on through the comments. I want to say, give like a slight apology to Grace 4, but at the same time, we gave an example of, mods and responsibilities, right? A person was warned. We saw the activities going on in the group chat. He got timed out. He tried again. He or she, we timed him out for 24/7. So I would make it once this is all done, before the night is over, Grace 4, this person will be banned. So I can't hold nobody accountable if they want to make up 50 accounts. But again, act accordingly in my chat. Okay, act respectful in this chat because I don't do that. I don't do the disrespect with my mods or my chat, stuff like that. Also, my mods who know their mods, pay attention to the chat too. So if you see somebody being a little bit disrespectful and keep trying and testing people, time them out. Let me know in the chat the reason why. We're good. If they do it again, just get rid of them altogether. And YouTube added a whole timer, so he's the person's on a 24-hour timeout, which is crazy. It's something I wanted to respond to. Yeah. So shout out to Heart Inspiration. She said, I understand the Great Pill Podcast. The Great Pill Podcast, equal opportunity all around. I try. I just pretty much just don't care. I mean, everybody got a conversation. Everybody has a story. Everybody has their perspective to share. That's pretty much how it goes. here on this platform, which I'm fine with. Now I understand some stuff people want to challenge. I will let that slide back and forth for a little bit, but for the most part, everybody just need to learn how to just like, you know what, we're doing back and forth. We're not coming to kind of a resolution for something. Let the chat, let the people on the replay, let the audience decide, and then we just go from there. And I give an example. It's still going to be the classic example until something else new happened. Ashley and classic Ruby. They had plenty of back and forths, plenty of challenges between the two. It just happens like that. So, but they're both willing to always come on this platform and have the conversation. And we have like different topics all the time. But yeah, big, fat, green, purple, yellow. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, equal opportunity employer all the way. So with that one, appreciate you guys. Thank you, Grace, for appreciate you. So I will see you guys in an hour. And on that note, where is it?
He fights for us. I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.